Hello and welcome everybody. We are doing a super fun webinar this afternoon. This is a really great event, and we're so happy that you're joining us. My name is Lauren Spring, and I'm here today with
Sarah Robichaud from Dancing with Parkinson. We're gonna have a great time, guys.
And I myself, I'm an art educator at the Art Gallery of Ontario. And what we have planned for you today is a really fun dance-filled event in partnership with Dancing with Parkinson and with the Koffler Centre. And we are gonna pretend that we're voyaging back to 1977 Manhattan together. And we're gonna take a look at some of the wonderful things that we have in the AGO's Studio 54 exhibition that hopefully we'll be able to walk through in person soon. And we're going to relate it to the story of Studio 54. We have lots of slides and pictures of the amazing fashion and the celebrities who would go there and some of the politics involved with Studio 54. And then we're going to dance our way through it together too. This is going to be an interactive webinar. So as I walk through the slides and share some of these images, obviously, we are going to expect you to be up and dancing with us and grooving along from wherever you may be. But also, we're going to ask you questions about what you see, how you might relate it to today. And so you can probably notice at the bottom of your screen, there's a little question and answer box. And so whenever I pitch a question out to you, feel free to type it into that, and most of them will come my way and we'll incorporate that into our discussion. Even though we can't see your faces and the fabulous outfits I'm sure you're all wearing, and maybe hear the music you've got grooving in the background, we'll do our best to kind of stay connected in this weird and wild world. So before we officially get started and launch into our virtual tour of Studio 54, I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. And here we go. Ta-da! All right, so again, here is the beautiful Art Gallery of Ontario. The doors are closed at the moment, but we're really hoping in the next couple of weeks, all of you folks who live at least close to downtown will be able to come in and walk through our Studio 54 exhibition. We have over 650 works of art in there, and that's a combination of fashion, like actual, clothes that celebrities once wore and really cool designs, and photographs from the era, and other sorts of paraphernalia, so many things. We have documentary footage of the parties that took place there. Yeah, so it's going to be on and lots of fun coming up very soon. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that the land the Art Gallery of Ontario operates on is the territory of the Anishinaabe, Mississauga. It was also the territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant is an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Anishinaabe Three Fires Confederacy to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Toronto is also governed by a treaty between the federal government of Canada and the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe Nation. Toronto has always been a trading center for First Nations. Very important to acknowledge this. And now, here we go. We're going to launch ourselves back to 1977. Interesting to know that Studio 54, located in downtown Manhattan, was only actually in existence for 33 months between 1977 and 79. And within that time, it really made its mark on history. Some of the biggest parties that took place there were on New Year's Eve. And so this one here, you can see it says 1978 to 79 because it's over New Year's Eve. A huge party, all of these balloons coming down, lots of hope, lots of excitement in this era. And it reminds me kind of our New Year's Eves. Our recent one this year was probably much tamer than what folks are used to in the past. And so the first question I wanted to ask everyone is to try to think back to either the last time that you were in a room full of sweaty strangers, like dancing beside each other, having a great time, not thinking about who was breathing on who, and singing moistly beside you. So when was the last time you were in a place like that? It might be, 20 years ago. Maybe you haven't been at such a big party in a long time. Maybe it was, March 13th, 2020, just before the world turned upside down. So I'm curious to hear from anyone. What is the last time you were in a room like this, kind of filled with strangers, just having a ball, listening to music? Um, and if you can't think back to the last time that was, what's a particularly memorable time when you were at a big public party? Great, we have some responses rolling in here. Oh, so someone is saying, oh, a wedding in fall 2019. Those are so fun. I miss big weddings where you just like let loose on the dance floor. Don't really care who's watching. You're just celebrating love. So last February, oh, someone else on February 28th. Oh, you got it right down to the wire, huh? You fit that party in just before they weren't allowed anymore. Someone else is saying December 31st, 2019. So New Year's Eve. A lot of New Year's Eve, yeah, going from 2019 to 2020. Who would have thought, huh? Who would have thought back at New Year's Eve last year that the world would be so different ringing in 2021? Someone is saying 3 years ago. So last particularly memorable one was 3 years ago. Others are saying Jazz Festival. Ooh, Jazz Festival 2019. Imagine that, huh? Live music. How much do we miss live music? That was something else that was fabulous about Studio 54 is often they were bringing together hip hop and disco and all sorts of new musical genres, and they would often have live performers on stage. We're going to be looking later on at a picture of Grace Jones, who was she was a fashion model, but she really got her start kind of performing live on the stage of Studio 54. Oh, someone else is saying New Year's Eve at the Royal York. Ooh, that sounds fancy. I want to be invited back in time at that one. 1999, New Year's Eve, Nathan Phillips Square. Ooh, that sounds like a nice outdoor and particularly memorable. 1999. Yeah, about to ring in the millennium. Remember how frightened we all were that things would go haywire and that was a big party for sure when we all survived the change. Someone is saying the Half Moon Pub, London 2018, a Rolling Stones tribute band. That's what's so great too. And these memories are associated with the music that we're hearing of the era and, you know, a particular song that maybe marked a special moment with whoever you were with. What else do we have? March 3rd to 9th, 2020 in New Orleans, just before the lockdown. Oh, again, someone who got their partying in just before they couldn't anymore and flew back just in time. Well, Elvis Presley, no way. Elvis Presley,
No
1957, Maple Leaf Gardens. Oh, you guys, you're transporting me to all of these fun times and places.
I actually made it just under the wire as well last year, celebrating my birthday. We went out to a soul dance club and danced shoulder to shoulder, kind of like you see in that photo right there. And who knew that I'd be doing the shoulder to shoulder in my living room now a year later.
And for so long too. For so long.
You know what I want to do? Who wants to pop those balloons? Who wants to pop those balloons? Should we pop them? Let's go into that room, you guys. Bring up the music, Danny. Come on into the room.
You can transport yourself right into this room with the balloons. Imagine the balloons or wherever your last memory was in that you're so nice highlighted here.
Pop those balloons. Pop. Pop. Come on. Pop. Up to the sky. Here we go. Pop. Oh yeah. You got it, guys. Now let's make some light with our hands. Make some light. We're gonna ignite the light. Now shine your light in the room. Illuminate the whole room. Illuminate the whole room. Illuminate yourself. Oh yeah. Got it. Shine that light on you. Shine the light around the room. Shine the sky. Come on. Let's go. Who's at the party? Wave to your friends. Hey, Lauren.
Hi, Sarah. imagine it back your way too.
All right. What's next?
Oh,
What can we learn about? Thanks, Danny.
all right.
So
Whew,
much fun.
I'm getting sweaty with all these strangers on the dance floor. Awesome. And we have another kind of bird's eye view image here again of Studio 54. You can see it was an exciting time. This one of the things that I think was most interesting was that it came together, post World War II, post Vietnam War. You have the civil rights movement, New York City, of course, this hotbed of diversity, LGBTQ rights, gay liberation. And of course, there's this kind of saying that it was post birth control and pre-AIDS epidemic. And so there was this kind of sexual freedom that was in the air too, and all of these music styles coming together. So you can see, yeah, in many ways, a place of great inclusion. It was also really exciting. The two men who founded Studio 54, we have Steve Rubell and Ian Schreiger, and they kind of came together with this grand vision. And it was kind of part concert hall, part nightclub, part Broadway set. You can see a lot of this is one of the grand entrance way at one particular time. So even just walking in there would have been exciting. A lot of the pieces that they used to design the entranceway and the dance floor itself actually came from Broadway shows that had closed. And so they then started including them. So there was this kind of grandiosity to the experience. And one of the best things was the fashion. So anything goes. We were just popping our balloons all together. And you can see here's someone with a very eccentric costume on one particular night. There's so many great choices. This, one of the designers who's highlighted in the AGO exhibition is Norma Kamali. And you can see these particular ones are called sleeping bag coats. This is one of the things that she was most well known for. It looks awfully comfortable to me. I don't know, it's sunny today, but it's been a cold, long winter. And so personally, if I were to go out to a party tonight, I might decide to wear one of these puffy sleeping bag coats. You could fit a friend in there with you, it seems. And this gentleman you can see here smiling is Steve Rubell. So he was one of the founders of Studio 54. And Norma Kamali, if you actually walk through the AGO exhibition, you'll see she didn't just design sleeping bag coats. She was also famous for designing parachute dresses. So she was using kind of really interesting sort of everyday materials that came from very different places and turning them into clothing. And this is a big, bold new style. And the sleeping bag coats actually came from a difficult moment in her life. She had gone through a divorce and she kind of lost a lot of her possessions. And she found herself one night sleeping in an empty living room apartment, in her apartment, in just a sleeping bag. And she thought, wait a second, this is actually bringing me a lot of comfort, and I'd like to stay in this little cocoon. And so she decided that she would design a kind of outfit that would fit with that moment. And then they became really, really popular. I don't know if folks look at this and think, yeah, that's styling, or if they think kind of weird. But certainly anything went at the time, and it was all about experimentation. You can see another fella here lining up to to make his way into Studio 54. One of the things about it, in spite of the fact that Studio 54 was very inclusive of a lot of different people, one of the things was that they did have exclusive guest lists. And because it was the hottest ticket in town, not everybody got in. And so one way that you could stand out and be selected kind of from the pool of people who were trying to get in from the outside to sneak their way past the kind of security at the door who'd get to choose who was cool or not enough to come in would be by wearing an eccentric outfit. So I'd like to hear from folks at home. What is one of the most eccentric things you've ever worn out to a party? Maybe it's something that you've not even worn yet. Maybe you've got this really cool item at the back of your closet that's just waiting until we're allowed to party again and see the light of day. So yeah, if you can type into the Q&A, share with us one of the most eccentric things you've ever worn. If you remember where you wore it, that's fine. And tell us too if it went over well. Did you wear it and really make a statement, and was everyone kind of really impressed? Or did you wear it and then think, ooh, I shouldn't have actually put this on the entire night you were out? anyone think of anything, or if you don't have something really eccentric, just your favorite kind of party thing to wear? Do you have a little black dress, or these like killer dancing boots that are just waiting to see the light of day again? Do you have a favorite thing that you'd wear to a party?
I
What
am
would
all about the sequence. Always, always. You cannot go wrong with glitter. You cannot. Black glitter.
I would totally agree with you there. I would totally agree with you there. And yeah, I'm just taking a look at that cool dress, Sarah. That's a nice one.
Oh,
Almost
this is, yeah, it's a little top. Yeah, yeah.
nice. Kind of a sparkly disco ball like.
That's right. That's right. There's something really fun about getting ready to go out, right? Getting ready to go out and be seen. I can totally identify with that Kamali uh, sleeping bag coat. That's pretty much what I've been wearing for 1 year now during COVID
Yeah,
at home. Today's the first day we put the sparkles on. There it is.
there it
I
is.
want I want everybody to get out of the sleeping bag coat right now, all right?
Let's do it.
I want you to think about the wildest, most stylish, most out there, fantastic outfit and hair that is going to get you in the club. Let's get ready. Come on up to your screen. We got to do our face. All right? This is your time. Do your face. You gotta do your what? And maybe put your lashes on. Yeah. Oh, how about your hair? Brush it. Woo. Let's frizz it up.
I think I'm gonna let mine down tonight.
Oh yeah, Lauren. Oh yeah. Let's put our sequins on. What's that? Sequins on the other side. Do it up. Remember, this is your own outfit. Maybe you're putting your boots on or your pants. Now, I want to see you dress in your outfit. Show me your sequin. Don't stop. Yeah. Show me something really cool. Is there a cool glove on?
Getting some great responses. And see, Sarah, people were wondering what they wore out. That somebody made a bat dress with the names people made themselves for the concert in their high school. A
Oh
couple
yeah.
went out with coffee and olive oil. One made a
Love that.
I want to see people getting dressed in some of these things now.
All right, let's see it. Oh, the beehive hairdo. Oh yeah. Let's see that beehive.
Oh, and a boa, a feather boa. I'm gonna add one of those.
I'm gonna wrap it around. Wrap that boa. And let's sprinkle sequins all around the room and glitter. Come on. Glitter everywhere. Send me some glitter. You heard him. Don't stop. All right. Okay, Lauren. We are looking fine.
Woohoo!
How do we get in the club?
This is the question, isn't it? All right, let's go back. Let's go back to this club here. Here we go. All right. So we had people in amazing outfits. I couldn't see it at the time because of a weird thing that was happening on my screen. So I didn't get those great comments until we were dancing. You know what else is interesting is that not only the people who were attending the club or trying to get into the club had fancy outfits, but you can see in this picture here, the bus boys and the bartenders, they had a specific dress code too. In fact, whenever folks were interviewing to work as a busboy or a bartender at the club, they had to have a certain physique. And as part of their kind of contract, they would have a gym membership, or they would be allowed to take dance lessons as part of their pay. So don't know how that would fly with with all of our policies and laws in place today. I don't think you could really have the same mandatory gym attendance for being a busboy, but they did have a particular costume too. So not only those coming would have to wear something neat and fancy, but you could see the busboys had these little shorts and tennis socks, and that kept things fun for many.
That is a very little costume. That
That
is
is
very little actual costume.
easy to pack in your work bag, I suppose, as you bike to the club. But,
Yeah.
here's an example of one of these famous guest lists that I was talking about. So I know many of you have put on your fancy mermaid tails and mad scientist costumes, and you guys had such good, like really cool shoes that you were talking about that were some of the favorite things that you've ever worn. Um, but it's still not a guarantee that we were going to get in, because if we showed up at the door here at Studio 54, there were all these bodyguards waiting outside looking for the people on the guest list. You can see names would be kind of added and crossed off depending if you how on your celebrity status. It was really a place, like the place to go and be seen and party and see other people. And so not everybody would get in spite of Studio 54 being inclusive and liberating in many ways. A lot of people were actually turned away at the door. And I'm curious to hear from folks tuning in today if there's ever been a time where you thought you were going somewhere very inclusive, but ended up feeling left out in some way, where you were really excited to go. It had this particular austere of being one way or another, but you ended up kind of disappointed in terms of what it turned out to be. I wonder here. I hope my questions are going to pop up again here. We'll give it another second. Have you ever?
I'll comment. It's happened to me.
Has it?
Yeah. In my early 20s, I was dancing in a ballet company, and I was new to the company. And there was this really cool group, like of people, of dancers, and they used to go camping on the weekends. And so I finally they didn't invite me to go camping, and then finally they invited me out one night to one of their cool group gatherings and parties. And even when I was there, I still wasn't cool enough to feel like part of the
Oh,
group. That, yeah, it doesn't feel good. You're like, hold on a second, I'm part of this now. Oh, okay, not really. Okay.
totally. And I think too, you know, part of me wonders if maybe all of them were feeling that in a way. Like we all have had experiences like that. And then maybe, if we were going to go back and interview all of those other women who were there too, they maybe also didn't feel like they fit in some way or another. Um, but certainly a place like Studio 54, it would be pretty overt, right? If you guys were all standing outside and they said, okay, you can come in, you can't, you can't. That could be hard in the moment. And I'm curious. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we've got a few comments rolling in here. So people are wanting to know the question again. So curious to know if you've ever, gone somewhere that you thought was going to be really fun, or billed itself as being very inclusive, like a place for everyone. Everyone is welcome, but then you actually felt like it was exclusive in ways you weren't expecting. I think a lot of folks at Studio 54, they said, okay, it's sexual liberation and post-civil rights movement, and so all races are allowed, all styles of music are allowed. But then they get to the door and say, oh, you know what, you're not wearing the right coat to get in here. You're not quite cool enough in our books to actually enter. I'm curious if anyone's had an experience like that. We heard about Sarah's. But
I've stood in lines before, and I've been in front of people, and people 5 deep behind me have been welcomed into the club. And you're like, hold on a second, I was here.
What did I do wrong? Oh, someone is saying
what do we need to do to get ourselves noticed?
I don't know. Someone is saying that there was they went for a Halloween party, and the bouncer at the entrance told them that their outfit was too basic to enter. Apparently, it was a particular Halloween theme, and this person didn't follow it as expected. So, I
hope you still went trick or treating. I really hope you went trick or treating.
Well, someone else is saying they went to a memorial funeral service for an avid Blue Jays fan, and I surmised all of his friends would wear Blue Jays regalia, so I wore my shirt and hat and carried a Blue Jays banner, and everyone else was all dressed in more dignified manner.
Oh.
Oh, that's amazing. However, everyone seemed to like this person's outfit, and they asked them to lead them in a Blue Jays song. Oh, that's a beautiful memory.
That's awesome.
Oh, and I'm sure whoever the memorial it was for was probably tuning in from somewhere and saying, that person knows this part of me that that I'm really happy they're representing.
I would love to know if anybody who's dancing with us today has ever been to Studio 54.
Ooh, that is a great question.
Has anybody stood in that line?
Anyone in New York? 77, 78, 79.
Well, why don't we?
Oh, someone said yes.
Yep, and yep.
Yup and yup.
What is it? Give us a year.
Tell us something. What year did you get in? Did you just spend your time in the line crying? Yeah, what were you wearing? What got you in the door?
We need details.
Tell us. We want to know. We're all living vicariously now about other parties in the past, so some details here.
You know what? While we're waiting, you guys, let's do a little strut dance. So we want the doorman to know that we should be in this club, right? So I just want you to strut around and maybe give him a wave. We can bring the music up. And maybe you're waving to your pretend friends to make it look like you're popular. Maybe blowing kisses to everybody waiting in line with you. Maybe paying your way in.
Wow.
Send that money out. You want to slip some money in the shirt. Slip it in. You're going to get in there one way or another. Wave again. Let me see your best cool walk. Come on. You're super cool. So cool. Say me. Me. Choose me. Now really, let me in the club. Because I can dance. Show them how much fun you are. What a good dancer. Make them need you in the club. Woo! Yes! Lauren, you're in the club.
Sarah, I think you're in. You're in too. You were number one on my list. If I were a bodyguard here.
Let's learn about our dancer who went to the club.
Yeah, we have. Oh, someone says they were there in 1978. They were 17 years old and in NYC with my dance company, doing Broadway shows, and we came across the line by accident. Didn't know what 54 was, but we need more. Did you go in? Were you just watching kind of from the outside and seeing who which hand picked?
And can I have your autograph?
And at 17, maybe it wasn't legal for you to go in, but seems like a lot of illegal things were happening in the club anyway, so maybe you slipped in somehow. I'd be so curious to know more about this one too. All right. Oh, someone else is saying, oh, Sarah, we forgot something in our dance. We were giving money, we were strutting our stuff, but someone else is saying we forgot drugs. Yeah,
yes. Used your own actions for drugs.
There you go. All right, let's take a look at something else here. I've got a few more pictures of some of these celebrities who did make their way in. So let's take a look here. These are just some kind of action shots of, I'm sure, some people that you will recognize. So in this case, we have a young Brooke Shields and a Mariel Hemingway, who's an actress. And I mean, some of you who were clearly alive and into popular culture in 1978 probably know who she was. For others, she was an actress, and she was actually the granddaughter of Ernest Hemingway, the writer. And here you can see we have Liza Minnelli and Halston, who is a designer. Liza Minnelli, of course, Very famous singer. She's an actress too, daughter of Judy Garland. She was one of the regulars at Studio 54. There were celebrities who could get in all the time, and those who came again and again and again. And I'm pretty sure that's Andy Warhol in the background there too. He was another regular, obsessed. And I mean, in his artwork, he was also obsessed with celebrity culture and popular culture. And so he was kind of living this life, maybe as research, maybe because he was really attracted by it and wanted to be the celebrity himself. And I also love this picture because you can see the camera here. You can see the camera sort of flashing this particular kiss from another angle. Looks like Liza Minnelli's just been performing on stage. She has a microphone in her hand here. And so, yeah, a pretty neat kind of momentary capture. Most of the pictures that would make it into the tabloids the day after were not staged. It wasn't necessarily people, smiling and showing their best selves or the image they wanted the world to see. A lot of these were candid shots. There were paparazzi everywhere because this was such a kind of hot and exciting place to be. Here we have a young Michael Jackson. Check it out. Again, this is Steve Rubell, so one of the men who founded Studio 54, with Michael Jackson, who I'm sure had been performing there. It was another kind of opening night party. And here we have Iman. So she, famous fashion model, ended up, in the future being married to David Bowie. You can see, I really admire her style. I think we could almost do a whole dance just kind of taking on this persona, eh, Sarah?
Totally.
Got such
divine.
If only we could all look that good in a candid shot, huh? So it's like someone called her name, and she just turned and looked that gorgeous. But there she is, you can see. So yeah, fashion models. This is Bianca Jagger, so wife of Mick Jagger. She actually had a big birthday party there in 1977. There was this huge birthday party. If you end up being able to see this exhibition at the AGO, one of the biggest pictures that we have near the entrance is Bianca Jagger actually riding this horse into her birthday party. And then here, there were white doves that were released at one point, because why not? Studio 54, anything goes. So that would have been certainly a fun party to go to. This is one that was all over the tabloid press because there was so many exciting and different things happening at this particular birthday party. Anyone tell who this is? This is a tried and true Canadian here. So here we have Margaret Trudeau, who had, again, for those who were alive at the time, probably read in the tabloids all about her exciting ways. She was the wife of Pierre Elliott Trudeau, of course, but they often had falling out. She was, I believe, 22 years younger than him, and was known for kind of her wild partying. After they separated, she was often seen at Studio 54 in New York City, strutting her stuff, hanging out with Mick Jagger and others. So a little bit of Canadian content here. Here's another neat one. Here's Olivia Newton-John. Many people probably know the movie Grease, right? And so a lot of movies would have their opening night party at Studio 54. And here she is eating ice cream, looking like, the Sandy at the end of the movie, the more wild one, not necessarily little Sandra Dee with her with her patent leather shoes and all of that. So another wild party, opening night of Grease. Here we have, I had mentioned before, Grace Jones and Andy Warhol. And so I had mentioned before, Grace Jones was this famous fashion model. She had been born, I believe, in Jamaica and ended up in Europe for a while, and then came to New York City. And really, it was at Studio 54 that they kind of really nurtured her. They gave her a lot of stage time. And so she really was able to launch her musical career within those walls of Studio 54. Andy Warhol, clearly a big fan here. Those who know Andy Warhol's work too are probably familiar with some of the silk screens and the prints that he did about other celebrities, right? Like Elvis and Elizabeth Taylor, Marilyn Monroe. He was kind of, living the life of this celebrity and going to all of these places and really fascinated with celebrity culture, but also kind of critiquing it, also saying, maybe there's a bit of a downside to the way we put these people up on a pedestal, and, there can be one-hit wonders, and then we destroy them almost with too much money and too much fame. And so I wanted us to reflect a little bit. here I'll launch another question out um, uh, to everyone who's tuning in today. If Studio 54 were around right now, which celebrities, and we can imagine that, like, you know, transportation and location, geographic location isn't too much of an issue. Who do you think would show up at the Studio 54 of today? Which celebrities out there would really want to be seen at Studio 54 today?
Lady Gaga.
I bet she'd have a great outfit. I bet her outfit would get her in the door too. Someone is saying, "Oh, The Weeknd and Drake."
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure, huh? Totally. Well, so we could expand. We could think like, you know, movie stars or political figures, or like Margaret Trudeau in a way, or fashion designers. Anyone, members of the royal family, perhaps.
Oh, yes, Justin
up their
Trudeau
royal
for
duties.
sure.
Justin Trudeau. Oh, I bet you're right, huh? I bet he would follow in his mom's footsteps there. Oh, Elton John.
All of the Raptors. All of the Raptors.
Oh, that would be. I'd like to party with them actually. Do a basketball themed dance on the dance floor there. Harry and Meghan. I could see them going there, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Now that they've given up their you know, royal duties and a certain decorum, I think it's party
The
time
Obamas.
with Obama.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'd like to go that night too. I'm sure Michelle would have some great outfit on. Elton John, yeah, always having styles that are out of this world. But Sarah, why don't we imagine? Do you want to imagine we are these celebrities here?
We are. So, right now, I want you to think of your favorite celebrity that you want to embody to get into Studio 54. Take a second. Who's it going to be? Come on, someone you so admire, you think is so cool. Now you are them. You're going to walk in there. The paparazzi is everywhere. So you're going to have to take a few shots. So I want to see a freeze. Another freeze. Freeze. Anything you want. Freeze. Come on, keep smiling. Candid. Keep freezing. Give me a dramatic freeze. Now I want you to be the photographer's light. Flash, 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 flash. Flash lights all around the room. Flash, flash. You are the paparazzi. And flash. You're taking so many photos. Now be the celebrity. Freeze. 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 Show me Candid. Go dramatic. Fun in the act. Oh my God. Let me see something. Yeah. That's awesome, guys. All right, Laura.
Sarah, do you think we could do like a? It's one of the things we're going to talk about next. Some of the members of the paparazzi would have to be really sneaky. You'd be kind of like, you know, sneaky in the back door, and maybe try to grab some of these
Open the
spots.
door. Close that door. Here we go. Open it up. See if anybody's there. You almost got caught. We're going to do that a little faster. Open. Close. Open. Yeah! Open it wide. Open. Yeah. Open that door. Open. Open the curtain. Let it go. Shine your light around the room. Shine your light. And sneak away. Go to find the next celeb. All right. Thanks, Lauren.
All right, let me just turn back there and see you. they want to be you at this club.
Come, we're dancing together. You are me. We are each other right now.
I don't know if we all have as cool a background though as you do. What you have here, giving you such pizzazz behind you too. This is it's actually an image from Studio 54. This is Pat Cleveland's skirt that you see kind of flowing in the air behind Sarah. You two could, on your next Zoom call, we can send you the image and you can have a Pat Cleveland skirt too.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we were just pretending to be the celebrities and the paparazzi, and I think it's important to point out that there was this kind of love-hate relationship between photographers, like especially Ron Gallela. You can see a lot of these pictures that I had shown you before are shot by the same guy, Ron Gallela. So we have Olivia Newton-John here. There he is again with Margaret Trudeau. He's also the one who shot this photo of Bianca Jagger. So lots and lots. There he is again, black and white. Another one by Ron Gallela. So he was one of the most kind of regular attendees and members of the paparazzi who would come to Studio 54. And now it was kind of, I say it was a love-hate relationship because, of course, some celebrities really liked these candid shots and liked being plastered over the tabloids the next morning. Others liked it a little bit less, right? And Ron Gallela was really someone who pushed the boundary. He would come oftentimes with two cameras. He'd have one that was black and white and one that was color, because different tabloids would want different types of photos. And so, you know, if he sees Michael Jackson there or Liza Minnelli or whatever, he'd snap a couple shots with his black and white, snap a few with his colored lens, and then he'd try to sell them that night or the next morning to different tabloids, depending on what their rules were. But because he was, you know, so eager to get his shots published, he sometimes pushed the boundary. He was known as doing, you know, a couple of kind of shots that were not showing celebrities in their most flattering light. And so the two owners and operators of Studio 54 both loved him and needed him, because that's how they got all their publicity, right? That's how there was always buzz about Studio 54 every morning, because there'd be a new shot in the paper. But also, they, you know, didn't want to turn off the celebrities from coming and thinking that they'd be shown in these ways that were maybe embarrassing to them. Or again, we know that some kind of scandalous, you know, drugs occurred and sexual escapades occurred at Studio 54. So sometimes it would turn maybe some celebrities off, thinking that that might be public knowledge the next day. So he got kicked out of Studio 54 a couple times, but kind of slowly always made his way back. And here you can see, here's just one example. In the exhibition at the AGO, we have so many front covers of magazines and kind of daily newspapers. But here's one example, and you can see, just like Sarah was doing with the dancing, you can see the bright lights could also be the lights from a photographer's camera here going off in the background. And yeah, capturing someone in beautiful disco mode. And speaking of this kind of danger that existed, I think it's important to mention that, yeah, it wasn't all fun and games. So certainly it might have seemed liberating in a lot of ways. Even though drugs were illegal, it was well known that people were doing things like cocaine in the club. This particular kind of figure became this icon of Studio 54. It was this moon and spoon, essentially. So we can imagine that the spoon was probably this innuendo for kind of doing cocaine in the back rooms and in the basement and in the washrooms of Studio 54. But it was also part of the spectacle, right? This was a backdrop of one of the main dance halls, and so the moon would come in from one side and the spoon from the other, and they'd sort of meet in the middle on a nightly basis, and people would say, oh, that's so cool how they've been designed and coming together. But like we said, there were some risks involved in this kind of behavior, obviously. Certainly Steve Rubell and Ian Schröger, who owned the club, got into a lot of trouble themselves. They not only got in trouble for, allowing people to do drugs in their premises, and some drugs are found on the premises, and there's a whole long legal thing, but they were also arrested for tax evasion. They were kind of skimming money off the top and really not hiding it very well. And so both of them were arrested, ended up spending some time in prison. So there was some danger involved in these kind of behaviors too. And I think, when you're on this kind of high on the dance floor and things are just feeling really good and it's fun, and it's after the Vietnam War and it was kind of a party era, we didn't notice some of the things that might cause problems down the line. Certainly, again, we had said this was kind of post-birth control and pre-AIDS. And sadly, Steve Rubel, who died much too early, ended up actually passing away from AIDS too, likely as a result of some of the encounters he had made at the club. But there was such a stigma, really. It was in 1980, like just when the club closed, that it was, there were headlines that initially thought it was a strange kind of cancer that ended up kind of targeting homosexual men. And then slowly but surely it came to light what was actually happening. But when Steve Rubel died, there was actually still a lot of stigma surrounding it. And so on his official obituary, it says he died of hepatitis. But then, of course, everyone who knew him knew what was true, and later came out and stated that publicly too. So I'm curious to hear from folks who are joining us today. Is there a time in your life where like this kind of feeling of invincibility or just kind of pure liberation and excitement was ever clouded by risk or clouded by danger? Or did you ever sort of push things just a little too far? I'm curious if folks have that experience. Maybe even more recently within the pandemic, who knows? Maybe when restrictions started to be lifted and we had a big family party, or we can be honest here. I think we're always kind of, as humans, walking that fine line between liberation and achieving whatever kind of potential we have to things that might be dangerous or kind of risky. I'd be curious to know if anyone's had anything like that in the past.
Who has pushed the limits a little bit?
Oh, someone said they were in Mexico and danced with strangers. Ooh. That could be fun, especially if it was a different style of dance. That could be a pretty intense moment on the dance floor there. Nice.
Let me see everybody push the limit, push all around you.
Someone else is saying, absolutely yes, but they're not going to tell us what they were doing.
Oh, yes. Do a push the limit dance. Push everything away. Woo. Now I want you to pull all the danger in. Pull all the danger in. Walking on the line. What does that look like to pull it? In. Oh. Yes. Maybe things are getting a little fiery. Let me see you spark that leg. Spark, spark. Set sparks around the room. Let me see you guys all blue fire. Let me see that flame. Woo! Yeah. Let it go. You made it in the club. We're all dancing together. Imagine there's no COVID right now. Why are we finished? All clapping together. Oh, yeah. Thank you guys.
And I wonder, maybe just to wrap up here, we're all a little bit out of breath probably and sweaty in our respective living rooms, but I'd be curious, yeah, to hear from folks any words that come to mind when you think of Studio 54. You've had a little glimpse into what it's like now. Certainly, there's a lot more to the exhibition than we're able to show you here, but I'm curious, yeah, if there's any words. It could be an adjective, could be the name of a famous person that you've heard of who went there. Any kind of words that you hear.
Who am I making laugh? I know, I'm a bit of a nut. I know.
Decadent. Oh, good word. Far out, decadent. Oh, those are good ones. Yeah, I think that decadence speaks to that kind of risk-taking too. It's so good, and yet, oh, so good it's almost bad for us. Escape from reality. Rad. Nice. Disco Sally. Oh yeah, we haven't done too many disco moves yet.
Oh yeah. We did our popping balloons.
Excitement, glamorous adventure. Someone says we would drop everything we brought into a goldfish bowl and you could pick from what was in there. Ooh, nice. Very daring, good laugh, a happy laugh. Enlightenment, nice. And there was, right? It was like, I think what was so special about Studio 54 too is it's a particular place in a particular time with particular political, social context that kind of all culminated and came together for this short period. And in some ways, maybe it's a good thing it didn't last too long, because certainly its reputation would have been tarnished and the political climate would have changed. And yeah, I think it just kind of remains this sort of romantic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They went out on a high note. No pun intended.
Well, I'm so happy that everyone joined us today. I wonder, Sarah, should we maybe go out on a bit of a free dance or something?
I would love that. I had to plug in my computer. Would you believe it? It was running. So I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. We'll go out on a little bit of a free dance. Then my colleagues will end the meeting here whenever they speak up.
Nice and loud, Danny. Nice and loud.
Just begun to get a share of this world's delight. High hopes we have for the future and our goals in sight. We know we don't get depressed. Here's what we call our golden rule. Have faith in you and the things you do. You won't go wrong. Oh no, this is our family jewel.
Someone else remembers seeing Grace Jones on the stage of the AGO when she smoked a joint. Let's do that again, they say.
What?
Thank you so much,
everybody, for dancing with us and being part of our Studio 54 experience.
I had such a blast. Thanks all for your insights and your memories. I'm definitely going to live vicariously through those party moments till we can party together again in person.
Yes, you will all be invited, 100%, not kidding.
Total. Thanks, everybody. Have a great
Bye.
afternoon. Bye.
Thank you, Lauren. Mwah.
Bye, Sarah.